Imagine this scenario. Unlike all typical kids their age, two teenagers defy all expectations. No hanging out with friends, no video game marathon, and never mindlessly scrolling through social media. Instead, they shake up the US government, slipping into their most guarded secrets. He's not playing around, he's hacking into the personal documents of the people running the CIA and Homeland Security. This might sound like the plot of a movie, but this is what actually happened. This is the story of Kraka and Default, who didn't settle for the ordinary. They went after the elite, targeting the head of the CIA and the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kane Gamble, aka Kraka. All of it began in his small room in the small town of Colville in England. Born in '98 and growing up with autism, things weren't always straightforward for him. But he had his sanctuary, his computer. It wasn't just a piece of tech for Kane, it was his gateway to endless exploration. Kraka adopted this name because he was always high on crack. From the outside, his life seemed ordinary, but inside his room, Kane was teaching himself serious hacking skills. He latched onto IT and networking, soaking up information like a sponge and unlocking new talents he never knew he had. 2008 was a fascinating time to get into hacking. It was the time when the US surveillance scandal emerged after Edward Snowden blew the whistle against the US government. There were also heightened tensions over US interventions in the Middle East, leading to significant civilian casualties. Out of frustration with US foreign policy, Kraka established the hacking group Krakas with Attitude, and his first victim became James Clapper, who served as a key advisor to Obama on security matters, including cyber threats. This first significant exploit of CWA involved infiltrating the accounts of James Clapper, a key US security advisor, using publicly available contact information. They hacked his personal email and his family's accounts. Kraka even redirected Clapper's phone to support the Free Palestine movement. But all of this was just the beginning of a bigger gameplay. At the same time, in another corner of the world, another kid who went by the name of Default was also exploring the world of hacking with the same resentment as Kraka against the authorities. Surrounded by video games, his trusty computer, and his loyal dog, Default was not your typical teenager. Unlike his peers, his arguments with his father weren't about new games or gadgets, but stemmed from a deeper conflict: his dad's role as a government employee. Default got his biggest dopamine rush via his computer when he started cheating in his video games, but started winning big. The thrill of victory through cheating in video games soon led Default to the world of hacking, inspired by the notorious exploits of the Anonymous group. Anonymous championed the causes Default held dear, operating as a decentralized network driven by ideology over hierarchy. Despite his initial excitement, Default quickly grew disillusioned with Anonymous. Its widespread fame attracted the feds, who arrested Anonymous members all the time, and doxing people became almost impossible. The lack of structure also caused a lot of infighting. Seeking something more aligned with his values, Default joined AnonSec, a group known for its sophisticated political hacks and disdain for Anonymous. AnonSec controlled a powerful botnet, a network of infected computers to launch attacks and spread malware. During his exploration of this botnet, Default found Windsor University Medical School on this botnet, and the very first activity he carried out was deleting all the students' debts. His next big hack targeted Denmark's legal stance on bestiality, driven by his love for his dog and the recent bans in Germany and the UK that inadvertently promoted Denmark as a haven for such activities. Collaborating with fellow hackers, they took down the Danish government's website, leaving a message, "Did you know your government allows bestiality?" to highlight the issue. They started DOS attacks, shutting down most related websites and tweeting evidence of the messages they left on government websites. This case ended up in Parliament, and in 2015 Denmark finally banned this practice. But Anonymous got credit for it, which annoyed Default. Aware of the dangers his activities attracted, Default took extraordinary measures to protect his anonymity. He avoided using his home Wi-Fi, instead tapping into a free Dairy Queen network via a satellite dish. His commitment to security extended to encrypting his devices, enduring a 30-minute decryption process upon starting. Every time he turns off his device, he ensures they're encrypted. When he turns them back on, he has to wait 30 minutes for them to decrypt. An early believer in cryptocurrency, Default amassed a fortune in Bitcoin, collecting around 1,000 Bitcoins, which are around 700 million in worth today. Default encountered Kraka when he was gaining a lot of attention for hacking James Clapper's account and publishing his personal data. Expressing his admiration on Twitter, Default began conversing with Kraka, soon becoming an official member of the CWA. The hack of James Clapper outraged them both. They expanded their group and launched more ambitious attacks against senior officials in the Obama administration, topping it with a daring assault on CIA Chief John Brennan, taking down the CIA website. Despite being the chief of the CIA, John Brennan also did poorly when it came to digital footprint and cybersecurity. Like Clapper, Brennan's email address and number were also listed on the internet, and that was enough data for CWA to take him down. Between June 2015 and February 2016, Kraka called Verizon, posing as an on-site employee having trouble to help their customer. The call center employee asked for his employee code, which he made up on spot. By pure luck or clever guessing, Kraka got it right and managed to sweet-talk the staff into giving him the login details for Brennan's internet and cable services. With this info, Kraka slipped into Brennan's AOL email and caught his cell number too. And that wasn't all. They ended up getting their hands on extremely sensitive documents for intelligence operations in Afghanistan and Iran. In this war against the CIA, Default takes responsibility of spam calling Director Brennan, telling him about the hack and telling him how the government and CIA are responsible for the deaths of thousands of innocent people. Freaked out, Brennan went into hiding with extra security details, unaware of what to do. While Brennan was trying to keep a low profile, Kraka headed over to Twitter to share those secret docs. Twitter shut that down quickly, but that didn't stop him. They did what Snowden did and sent everything over to WikiLeaks. Julian Paul Assange, an Australian editor, publisher, and activist who founded WikiLeaks, personally took an interest in this. The October 2015 publication of WikiLeaks featured the CIA director's 47-page SF-87 application, which included contact info for John Brennan's every aspect of life. All national security officials must submit this form to get their current position and security clearance. SF-87 revealed the CIA chief's psychological records, criminal history, and drug abuse incidents. These WikiLeaks also included Brennan's recommendation to the U.S. president about how to manage affairs related to Iran, and a letter from Senator Kit Bond, vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, that details how to make future interrogation methods compliant and legal. These leaks instantly cost the CIA $1.5 million in relocating their officials into hiding. In an interview with CNN Money, Kraka boasted that hacking into the CIA's chief was the easiest job, and he would rate it 1 out of 10 in difficulty.
How difficult would you say it is?
You mean out of 10?
Sure, out of 10.
1.
1.
Having taken control of significant accounts like Clapper's and Brennan's, they had a huge amount of information and started releasing it more and more. Their efforts bore even more fruit when they broke into FBI Deputy Director Mark Giuliano's account. Within, they unearthed a database containing the personal details of 9,000 Department of Justice officials and 20,000 FBI agents, which they promptly released. Not stopping there, they accessed the Justice Department's joint automated booking system holding records on all U.S. prisoners. They spotlighted fellow hackers, including Jeremy Hammond, by posting their records online, leaving a trail of chaos and embarrassment across various institutions. Kraka and Default continued to leak information, fully aware of the looming grave consequences. The situation escalated when Default let his guard down after starting a relationship with his friend's ex-girlfriend. That friend gave him a green signal, but apparently he was not okay with it. Later, he was hanging out with his friend over Xbox Live, and the news was broadcasting about the CIA chief hack, which wreaked havoc. Drunk, Default started boasting in front of his friend. He thought his friend didn't believe him, and even if he did, he would never give away his friend. But he was proven wrong in no time. The FBI intervened just as Default's computer finished decrypting. That was the moment Default knew it was over for him. He was dragged out of his room and his hard drives and flashes were seized. Remember the 1,000 bitcoins worth $700 million Default has? The FBI seized those too, making Default pass out on the spot. One more CWA member was confiscated in the USA. And at the same time in the UK, 3 other members of CWA Kraka were also arrested, and all their devices were confiscated. Default was not the mastermind behind all this, but he paid the highest price. He lost his bitcoins, he went straight to federal prison with a 5-year sentence and had to pay a $145,000 fine. Due to the severity of his crime, he spent a significant amount of that time in solitary confinement. Kraka became the first ever teenager who went to jail for hacking. Being underage, he got a lenient sentence and just spent 2 years in the juvenile detention center. As per the latest news, he's keeping his head down and just focusing on his career in cybersecurity. Years have passed, and the CWA members have moved on, but the issues they highlighted, from Palestine to U.S. citizen surveillance, persist unchanged by government transitions. What would you like us to cover next? Let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.